Now, I'm sure we all know of the game Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. The game came out August in 2020, the summer of the pandemic, basically at the perfect time to come out and be popular, sort of like Among Us. But that was kind of one of the reasons why it died. Like, basically a month later was the popularity of Among Us. Um, but recently, within the past couple of months, as you may know, Epic Games acquired Fall Guys and has put it up to be free on the Epic Games Store and on all platforms that it was on. And honestly, the state of Fall Guys is not how I like it, and this video is just a rant on the decisions that I dislike and why I dislike them. Alright, first part is the store. Okay. Now, we all know, if you've played or even watched previous Fall Guys seasons, even if it was just the first season back in 2020, it was a pretty simple game, and the store was also except it was in it was like a horizontal, similar to Fortnite's old item shop. It was horizontal, and you would scroll, but horizontally. And there was two different things that you could buy with, which was kudos and crowns. You get crowns by winning, or there was a couple that were in the battle pass in all of the six, what I will call legacy seasons. It would be spread out throughout the battle pass of the season, and get kudos from the battle pass. And you could also get kudos just by playing. And that was a good thing that I actually did like, was the fact that you could get kudos, the things that were in the shop pretty easily. And especially when the later seasons came around, where you would get more crowns in the battle pass than you were in the first one. The first one you got probably, I think it was like 5 in the overall battle pass, and the later seasons you got quite a bit. And that was an okay decision from Fall Guys, but it was overall pretty good, because then more people that maybe weren't as good at Fall Guys and couldn't get more wins, they could actually purchase things, rare items, for crowns. Now, of course, when Fall Guys was acquired by Epic Games, that was the free version came out. It was basically free versions, season 1, so it was all shifted, and they added Showbucks. Now, there's nothing overall wrong with Showbucks. It's just a V-Bucks clone, essentially. But most games that are multiplayer and stuff, they have that type of stuff. You could buy kudos before, and that was basically the stuff that you would buy. And that was a great thing that you could do. Now, Showbucks are basically V-Bucks, a copy clone. If you go to the prices, they are almost exactly the same as Fortnite's V-Bucks. Now, there's nothing that wrong with it, except you have to. There's a separate battle pass or tier system that is entirely separate from the season. Now, they introduced this in Legacy Season 6. Or 5. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of those, and it was a good system, though, because crowns, you had the crowns, obviously, so you could buy from the shop. It was very useful, and then you would get extra rewards for getting lots of crowns. So every time you get a crown, you would, get one part advanced in the tier, and each tier was a certain amount of. And that was a good system, because you get extra rewards for winning and having crowns. And even the crown shards, I do agree with, which came once again in the Legacy season. I don't remember which one. The problem now is that they are almost valueless, and winning is not as exciting. It is still exciting to win, it's just not as exciting. You can get shards from the challenges, which is a very useful thing. It's just not as rewarding to get a win. Because before, when you get a win, you get a crown, and if you get enough, like cosmetic in the shop, and that was a good thing. And uh, you know, that was good and all. But when Epic Games came around, they also shifted the shop, so now it's like the new item shop in Fortnite. Now I say new, even though it's been in for a few seasons now. I'm still calling it the newer version. Now, the problem I currently have is that anything that is remotely good for a cosmetic in the shop, you can't get with kudos and you can only get with Showbucks. Problem with that is not everyone wants to spend money on Showbucks, similar to uh, 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 um, special challenges that can get you rewards if you play enough and you're good enough and stuff. But kudos basically give you like sandals and hats, which are okay but not as good. Now, another thing that I've seen this season, which is something that I never saw in any of the other seasons. Now, I'm not someone that plays Fall Guys every day, all day, or whatever, so I don't know what every shop was like. However, I recently saw that in the shop they have added the clock outfit, the pigeon outfit, and the hot dog outfit. Now, you may be saying if you weren't an OG player. However, me and a few of my friends who happened to play when it first came out and were actually enjoying the game and stuff, obviously the battle pass was always free in those legacies, the legacy version, so you could just get all the rewards for free as long as you played enough. And that was a really nice, rewarding system for playing a lot. And season 1 of the Legacy, aka the literal first season ever, as far as I'm aware, was in the Battle Pass, was those three og, 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 outfits. I have all 3 of those outfits. They all came into the battle pass. They were battle pass things. It's like if Fortnite was somehow taken over by a different company, like let's say Microsoft. Like if Epic Games was taken over by Microsoft somehow, and Microsoft was to re-release Carbine from the Season 4 Battle Pass into the shop for, like, let's say 2,000 V-Bucks. That's the exact same thing that they were doing. Or if they were to re-release any other Battle Pass cosmetic into the shop and not in that's the problem I see with it, is that it was an exclusive OG cosmetic that you could only get by playing that season and getting far enough. And when I saw the hot dog come into the shop, and then when I saw the cluck and pigeon, I saw that as a huge problem, because it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't re-release old cosmetics that are in the battle pass. If they want to release old cosmetics that haven't been in since the older seasons, like season 1 and 2 Legacy, then I would be fine with that. By Showbucks, by Showbucks, by Showbucks, by Showbucks, by Showbucks, by Showbucks, by Showbucks. And I'm fine with that because that's something that was already in the shop. But when it's something that was in the battle pass and was exclusive to it, that's where it's a problem. Part 2 of the rant. Alright, so this is basically kudos and other things that you can buy with, like Showbucks. So, I touched on this in the first part, but Showbucks basically made crowns completely useless. And you can't get kudos from playing. And the problem I see with that is it makes it harder for players to get cosmetics. If they want to get a cosmetic that's with lunges and 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 other things, and now that is a rewarding system, it's just not as rewarding because before you could get a very small amount of kudos, and if you worked hard enough, you could gradually build up your kudos. Now for me, who had around 25 crowns from getting wins and from the battle pass crowns, it converted so much kudos, so I do not have to worry about kudos. But for these new players that are coming in to Fall Guys for the first time because they never got the chance to play because it wasn't free, they are now in the cosmetics and 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 the battle pass, and they can't get anything rewarding in the shop. Because before, if you had kudos, you could get some really cool stuff, even if it was not worth crowns. Because now all the cool stuff, for example, Doom Guy, or no, it was Master Chief, who came into the shop recently with a couple of the guys. A couple of other characters from Halo. Those are with Showbucks, which makes sense because it replaces the crowns. But and it would have been crowns back in the day and stuff. But the other cosmetics that maybe are not actually as vast, bucks. And Showbucks is basically just money because you have to usually pay for it unless you're actually grinding in the battle pass. And if you don't have the actual battle pass and you have only the free, then you can't really get as much Showbucks without paying. And that's not that great. I mean, obviously it boosts revenue and stuff, but it's just not great for the players who have to spend money to get cosmetics that are actually cool. Like there's some that are worth 800 for the top, or the bottom and top is like 1,000 or something like that. And it's like before it would have been worth a few thousand kudos. 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, and you could buy them separately and stuff. I mean, you could still buy them separately. However, it was much better, in my opinion. You could get cosmetics more and not have to rely on free cosmetics and stuff because you didn't actually have to do as much work. You still had to do work to gain all those kudos, and you still had to go progress through the battle pass in order to get those kudos, but it's still a problem in my opinion. Part 3, the battle pass. So the battle pass is now 100 tiers like Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone and other battle royale games who tend to have 100 tiers as their kind of main battle pass. If there's extra things you can do from our challenges like Fortnite, the bonus rewards, that is an option, but they don't have that, obviously. But it is still up to 100 tiers now. Back in the original couple of seasons, it was now this 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 the thing with having it at 100 is they fill a lot of spots with Showbucks and kudos, and then even so, it's not really as good cosmetics as maybe it could have been if it was only a 40 or 50. Because if it was an only 40 or 50, they could have better cosmetics at the end and maybe not had to have those kudos, which is why they put the kudos available after completing a match. And it was why that was a good system because they didn't have to fill in the spots with kudos and stuff with 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 those cosmetics that they want to add, maybe not in the shop though. But the problem I see is that they're not necessarily great, or there's not the matching ones. In the original, it was always the bottom, and then a couple tiers later, it was the top. And they did that for every outfit, and there was about 5, maybe 6 cosmetics or full outfits, along with kudos and crowns mixed in there, and it was good. And obviously now that they have nameplates and titles, they can add those in there, which top, or they just 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 have a bottom, and they don't have the full outfits all the time. Sure, they have like Mecha Godzilla or maybe a couple other things, but for the most part, it's like the helmet, the sumo inflatable, like it's just not as good as a battle pass as it could be or should be. Alright, the last part. This is related to the overall game and the levels. So, the first one is, of course, level variations. Now, regardless of how you feel about them, they're not always the best, to be honest. Now, level of variations are, of course, needed for that bit of challenge in the game. And, it's always good to have more challenge, and it's always good to have that variation, to have, well, obviously variety, and to keep the game fresh and new, and keep people engaged in the game and the levels. But then there's certain levels that are just, they don't need that variation. And they just don't. Like Slime Climb or Slime Scraper, they don't need all the variations. Now, of course, some of them are actually decent. They are warranted, and that's good. But then there's others that are just not, like Jump Showdown, the final of Jump Club. They are just, it's just unneeded to have a fan in it that pushes you into the center so that you die. Because realistically, Jump Club can be stressful enough. Platforms are falling around you. You're keeping an eye on the bar so that you're not getting hit by it and launched into the slime. And adding that fan adds another layer of stress that level already has. Because it's, your heart's racing because it's the final, you're about to win, or you think you're going to win, and, it's Jump Showdown. Jump Showdown's not that complicated of a final, but when you add that fan, you have to focus on the fan while focusing on the 2 bars, while focusing on the platforms that are falling, and it's just too much to have in a level. And having that variation is just not something that it should have done. I'm not sure what they could have done for a variation in Jump Showdown. Maybe just you don't even need a variation for it. Because, to be honest, it's like DoorDash. DoorDash does sometimes have the variations, but the variations aren't that major. They just have some moving platforms, maybe the occasional big Yeetus, but nothing super major that takes away from the experience. Because the DoorDash is pretty simple. Choose the right door to go through. And adding too much variation makes it just not what the level should be. And that's what the level of Jump Showdown should have done, is maybe not done something that's too complex. like the fan, because the fan just makes it a lot harder um, to play in that final, and I just don't enjoy Jump Showdown when it is that variation. This is a sort of part two to the final part. It's the player base of the game, which is basically a gameplay. With the rise, or the new rise, the almost zombie-like reawakening of the popularity of Fall Guys, 20 million new players just because it went free. Um, it adds, it obviously makes it so that there's going to be bad players, obviously. But because there's so many new players that have never played before, anybody that is either returning or have been playing since the legacy, who have kind of been, like, they have their experience with it, they're now like almost plagued with these new players. I'm not saying that new players are bad. It's good to have new players. It's good for them to experience the game, and that's good. But um, because there's so many more new players than old players, most likely, um, when you play squads or duos, it's most likely that you're going to be paired up with a new player. There's almost I could probably guarantee that you will be paired with a new player because of my experience, due to my experience alone. Because there are times when I play squads and all three of my teammates, I could probably guarantee, are new players or have not played since season one, meaning they are very out of experience. But the thing that I have a problem with is, because of this, they kind of make it so that anybody that is actually good at the game and are playing squads or duos, and sometimes even solo, they literally cannot qualify sometimes. Like, even myself, I qualify maybe even first or second in a race squad game, like full tilt. Sometimes I'm zooming. I get to the final and I get like third place, and I spectate all three of my teammates, and all three of them are scattered more near the start of the race, and I have to sit back and watch the pain as I see them try their best. And that's what they're doing. They're trying their best to complete the level, and I understand that. However, that's that can sometimes be a problem for players like me, because if they're not able to qualify, then I'm not able to qualify, and that's why I try to go into solo. However, when I do play solo, once again the variations come into play, because when there are these variations that are unwanted, they are just painful, and they just are not great in my opinion. And then the new players, I mean, it means that I can qualify in solos, but it's just like I feel bad for them, because they are there are people that are better than them and stuff. Maybe they have more experience, but it's just so much new players that it's really a luck of the draw for the new players, and like even just for the returning players. All right, that's going to conclude my rant of probably quite a bit. I'm not sure how much will be put in after editing. As of before editing, it's at like 23, 24 minutes. So hopefully it's not super long. But anyways, if you for some reason enjoyed my rant or agreed with my points, like and subscribe. Also follow my socials and join the Discord. All of those are in the description. And I will see you guys in the next video.